World of Tanks DBV 152. This tank destroyer, this is a tier 10 Czechoslovakian tank destroyer, the DBV 152, which is going to be available in whatever the shop, the construction shop, whatever they call it, for, I guess it was 1 million free EXP. This is a great tank. The gun is amazing. Obviously, the armor is going to be a little bit weak, which is going to give it the better speed, and the load time is going to be long. But everything about this is amazing. The aim time is good. The dispersion is good. The damage is high. The penetration is good. So we're going to go through it. There is a video that Wargaming released. We got 4 crew members, which means there's no radio operator. So the commander is going to do the radio operator skills. You really want as many crew members as possible. It's better to have the separate crew member. The average damage is 800 with regular and gold rounds, 980 for high explosives. That's really good, but it is a 20-second load time. But of course, you can bring that down maybe to 17 or something like that if you get equipment, crew skills, maybe even down to 16. Average penetration is 281. That's good for tier 10. That would be great for tier 9. The gold round is 330. That's great for tier 10. And the HE rounds is 76, which is probably above average. There's only a few tanks that get 100 penetration for HE rounds. Most tanks only get 50. So in terms of the regular rounds at 281, for tier 10, it's going to be a good average. The best tanks are going to do 300 or 330, and for the gold rounds, 330, that's typical. That's what all the tier 10 tanks usually do for gold rounds, except for a few that might do 350, and the YAG-D Tiger E100 does 420. So you're going to be able to penetrate most turrets with the regular round, probably 95% of tanks in the game. With the gold rounds, you'll probably be able to penetrate everything except for a small handful of tanks, like the 260, the Object 260 is going to be one of them. There's going to be a few tanks you can't penetrate with the gold rounds with a regular roll. The hit points is 1750, nothing special about that. Top speed is 52. That's actually pretty good. We don't know what the acceleration is. Dispersion is 0.32. That is excellent. Most tanks average around 0.38. And obviously with equipment you can do a better job. Good dispersion means it's going to be more accurate at long range, and you can snapshot. You can pull up on someone and fire without aiming. Aiming time is 1.6. That is absolutely amazing. There's only a few tanks in the game that get 1.6 aim time. I don't even think the STRV has 1.6 aim time. But it's like probably 2 or 3% of the tanks in the game aim this well and have dispersion this good. 35 shells should be fine, because the gun reload time is 20 seconds. It's 3 per minute, which means 45 if you constantly fire per game. It's got 35. You should be fine. Gun depression is -7. It is a rear-mounted tank, which impacts the gun depression over the front and over the back. Shell velocity is 1160, which is a high number. The heat rounds is 880, and the HE is 880. 1160 is pretty good. 880, obviously you want it to be faster than that. Engine power, 700 horsepower, nothing special about that. The traverse speed is 28. The top speed is 52. The concealment is 11. I know that's a low concealment value. Some tanks get 40 or in their 30s. Signal range is 750. I'm sure it's going to be fine for most maps. Maybe not so much on Grand Battles or Frontline. The view range is 370, kind of average, really nothing special. The better tanks only do like 380 or 390. Hit points is 1750, nothing special about that. The hull armor is 70, 30, 30. That's obviously not that great. The turret armor is 140, 60, 30. That means that everything in Tier 10 is going to penetrate you. HE rounds, you're kind of vulnerable except for the front of the turret, but everywhere else you're going to be a little vulnerable, especially on the sides and the rear. So, for example, they could fire and hit the side of your... They can fire from the front and hit your hull armor, maybe the side of the turret, and you might be vulnerable. You're only protected the front of the hull. So with HE rounds, you gotta be a little bit careful, and obviously SPGs are gonna rip you apart, except for the fact that I don't think they do fire HEs as a default because of the stun damage and the burst radius. The turret traverse speed is 18 degrees per second. I don't know if it goes all the way around. I did not check that out. So you can see that there's no cupola jumping up. You see where there's like a gun mounted on the roof. That's probably where the commander would be. And the loader's probably on the left because it's more comfortable for seating. I don't see a gun sight for the gunner. The engine is probably going to be up here in the front. And you see right under the gun barrel in front of the gun mantlet, you can see there is a optical viewport, which means that the driver is sitting in the center right under the gun mantlet behind the engine. You've got some external elements here. Maybe that's a headlight, tow hooks. There's a cable. Those are all external, which means they're not weak spots. It looks like if you look at the track, it looks like there's a gear in the front, which means that the transmission is going across the front here. Engine's right there. So you're going to be able to damage the transmission by hitting right in the front, which means you're probably going to be able to set the engine on fire easily from the front. That hull armor is quite weak, so you might want to go for setting the engine on fire, hitting it here in the front. And obviously you're going to have the fuel tanks on the left side and on the right side. So I don't have a side view of this gun, and it's obviously not a premium tank, but it is what they might call a gift tank or a special tank. You're not going to be able to change the gun, and you're not going to get, you might not get the extra experience, but you will probably get the crew training. It's something you're going to want to check before you buy it, because you might not get the XP bonus with this vehicle. It is in the Czechoslovakian tree. Are there Czechoslovakian tank destroyers? Because if they're not, you're not going to have crew for the vehicle. Obviously in the Czech tree, they've got medium tanks, and I'm pretty sure they have heavy tanks. I don't recall any tank destroyers. Maybe they got the light tanks also. I'd have to go double check. So you might have an issue with crew training. It might not get you anywhere. Unfortunately, I don't have any further information about this vehicle. There is a video from Wargaming which you can go and check. Okay, so this is the DBV 152, and there is going to be the disadvantage with the radio operator. You're only going to get 3 crew skills, and I believe that the commander has to be trained for a vehicle. For example, if he were a radio operator and the commander's not trained, the radio operator could be trained. So you've got that disadvantage, and plus Radio operator under commander, only 3 crew skills. As a separate crew member, you get more than 3, although some of them might be repeated, such as repairs and brothers in arms and camouflage. Okay, so that is a DBV 152. If you have any questions or comments, please post below.